We are here in one of the most beautiful places in all of Namibia, the Deadvlei. Most people will know this image, and how to capture so much of this epic landscape in a single picture is now explained to you by Alexander Heinrichsas.
The vastness of this landscape here in Namibia is predestined for panoramic photography. I can't get all of it into one picture, just like the Milky Way, for example. It's too wide. I would like to give you a few tips. What do I have to consider when creating panoramas, and how do I proceed? I'm working with the Novaflex panorama system. Why do I need a panorama system at all? Quite simply, if I mount the camera on the tripod normally and pan the camera, it causes objects to be moved one behind the other. Above all, vertical structures. In the city, these can be buildings, or in this case, the trees here. That means, if I pan it just like this, a tree would suddenly appear behind another tree, and then it would be very, very difficult to stitch, meaning putting the pictures together. Therefore, we have to find the optical center of the lens. With the 24mm lens from Sony, I have to move the camera a long way back so that it rotates exactly over its optical center, and that's why a panorama system is imperative. What do I have to think about when adjusting the camera settings? Quite simply, everything is done manually. Why? The exposure must not change during the panning, otherwise stitching would be very, very difficult. Focus manual. There may also be slight shifts when the focus lies on a bush or a tree or dunes in the background. Exposure manual. And also what is very important, many, including myself, like to take photos with polarizing filters to get a nice blue sky. This is extremely counterproductive when taking panoramas, because the effect of the polarizing filter, the intensity of the polarizing filter is strongly dependent on the angle of incidence of the sun, and we change that whenever we turn our camera. It's very important. Take pictures without polarizing filters and do everything manually. How many pictures do you have to take? Well, ideally they should overlap by at least 30%. Stitching programs work best if the offset is always set at the same angle. That is why with the panoramic system I can set an angle down here, and it locks at the angle when turning. This makes it easier for me. I can check it out beforehand. There are also tables on Novaflex's website where you can look up at which focal length I have to take which angle. This also makes processing in the software much easier later. Let me summarize again very quickly. Everything in manual, using a panoramic system. Let the camera rotate over the optical center of the system. No polarizing filters and a minimum 30% overlap in the pictures, and then nothing stands in the way of a good panorama. But I would say I've been talking long enough. Let's start to work practically. I will then show you the pictures.
The Namib really impressed us on the way to Deadvlei. We are very happy that we can now see this magnificent landscape from a bird's eye view. After a super short night, our alarm clock rang at 4 o'clock. We set out to be in the air just in time for the sunrise to photograph the spectacular landscape of the Namib Naukluft National Park from above.